The community of Tree Hill is buzzing with excitement, as this will be the first basketball game since 6 players were suspended in episode 1. Lucas is eager to prove himself on the court, but his mother, Karen, haunted by the ghosts of her past, decides not to attend, masking her unease with talk of her diner being possibly busy. Ahead of Lucas's first game, we find him back at his place of comfort, the riverfront park, surrounded by his friends, Skills and the boys, who assure him they'll be there to cheer him on for his first game with the Ravens. Mouth and Jimmy, our amateur courtside announcers, have even already set up a website to broadcast the game. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Dan hatches a new scheme for Nathan. With Lucas's spot on the team now inevitable, Dan tells Nathan to keep Lucas in check, exploit his vulnerability, and undermine his tentative steps into Nathan's world. Under his father's influence, and driven by his own growing fears of being replaced, Nathan cuts into Lucas at every turn, feeding into his insecurities. Lucas plays in the basketball game, but performs poorly, missing shots, defending blindly, and at one point, even letting the ball slip right out of his hands after a teammate's pass. Coach Whitey, assessing his lackluster performance, benches him by halftime, where he remains for the rest of the game. After the game, Nathan and Peyton are making out in his car at the riverfront park when an argument breaks out. Nathan laughs about Lucas's poor performance, which irritates Peyton. Annoyed, she gets out of the car, and in return, in a fit of anger, Nathan throws her things out, leaving her stranded. Peyton eventually finds Lucas shooting hoops alone at the park. As Lucas gives her a ride home, they have an honest conversation about their struggles. Lucas opens up about his desires to prove himself as a good player in this new world, sharing that basketball used to be his place of refuge, a place where his self-doubts couldn't reach him. Peyton, on the other hand, confides that she's struggling with letting cheerleading in her current path define her, admitting that she often feels like a fraud or like she's lying to herself and others about her happiness.
If I say that I like it, then I'm just another cheerleader. But if I say that I hate it, then I'm either a liar or a fraud. Either way, I lose.
When Lucas returns home, he sees his mother waiting for him, and guided by guilt, Karen tries to apologize for missing his basketball game, but he brushes her off, still hurt and not yet ready to hear her out. Meanwhile, Nathan reaches out to Peyton to make amends, and though she placates his guilt by saying everything is okay, her true feelings surface through her art. In her room, she sketches the words, "It's not okay," a poignant reflection of her inner turmoil and the toxic cycle of her relationship with Nathan. The next day, a class discussion takes a sharp turn when the teacher asks Peyton to describe Lucas in one word. Without hesitation, she replies, "choke," cuttingly referencing his awful performance in the game. Lucas retaliates with "lonely," and Nathan jumps in quickly, firing back with the biting label, "bastard." The insult sparks an immediate fight, with Lucas lunging at Nathan. The Scott brothers are eventually pulled apart. Later, in Coach Whitey's office, Whitey hollers at Lucas about the fight, reminding him that he stuck his neck out for him, only to be met with his reckless behavior. With his self-confidence teetering, Lucas admits he feels out of place and doesn't think he belongs on the team. Whitey pushes back, accusing him of finding excuses to run away, but Lucas denies it, though it's clear he's struggling and ready to bolt. Following this, we switch to Lucas and his childhood friend Haley debriefing about the fight. Coach Whitey was right. Lucas is thinking about quitting the team. His poor performance in the game has shattered his confidence, and he longs for things to go back to how they were. Familiar faces, familiar friends, hooping at the riverfront park. Loyal and loving, Haley reassures him, reminding him that no matter where he is, he's still the Lucas she knows. We are then introduced to a fresh face, Brooke, Peyton's best friend and a cheerleader. During a hangout at Peyton's house, Brooke reveals her crush on Lucas, while Peyton, more reflective, contemplates life after high school. Brooke confidently outlines a future focused on making the right choices and marrying a rich guy, unsettling Peyton, who feels discontent with the present and anxious about what the future holds. Unlike Peyton, Brooke has no reservations or doubts. She knows her path and is comfortable with where it will lead her. At the auto shop, Keith and Lucas work on Peyton's car, which Lucas helped her tow in episode 1. Keith encourages Lucas to brush off his rough first game, insisting he not let this early failure define him. Keith tells Lucas that even the great Michael Jordan was once kicked off his high school varsity team. While working on the car, Lucas stumbles upon Peyton's sketchbook and is deeply moved by her artwork, seeing in it the same challenges and fears he's currently struggling with. When Peyton catches him looking at her sketchbook, she angrily admonishes him and tosses the sketches in the trash. Behind her back, Lucas quietly retrieves them. Next, we see Dan question Nathan harshly about his fight with Lucas, pressing him to stay focused and not let anything, especially something as trivial as defending Peyton, jeopardize his future successes. Nathan skillfully turns the tables, correctly pointing out that the fight wasn't really about him. Lucas wasn't swinging at Nathan. He was swinging at Dan. Later, in a moment of reconciliation, Karen confesses to Lucas that she couldn't bring herself to attend the basketball game because it brought back the painful memory of Dan telling her, in that very gym, that he was leaving for college without her. She's afraid of returning to the place where her life changed forever. The next morning, during a promised run with Nathan, Dan recalls sitting out the fourth quarter of the state championship to spite Coach Whitey. He's convinced that Whitey is now retaliating by keeping Lucas on the team. In Whitey's office, we see Dan confront Whitey, accusing him of using Lucas for revenge. Whitey, taken back by the accusation, calls Dan out for the harm he's causing both boys. In this episode, Jake is the first teammate to offer Lucas encouragement. He even privately stands up to Nathan on Lucas's behalf. In a passing moment at the school library, Jake catches up with the weary Lucas and gifts him a copy of Atlas Shrugged, hinting that it might offer Lucas some answers. He leaves Lucas with a knowing look and advises him not to let them, presumably Nathan and Dan, take his talent away. Back in class, the students participate in the Hemingway exercise again, this time instructed to write down what they want most in life. 2 notes stand out: revenge and answers, reflecting Nathan's desire for payback and Lucas's search for meaning. Nathan's attempt to undermine Lucas's confidence and drive him away seemed to work when Lucas skips practice, upsetting Coach Whitey. When Peyton returns to Keith's shop to pick up her car, she's surprised to find Lucas there instead of at practice. Lucas tries giving her the sketches back, complimenting her work, but Peyton brushes off his praise because, before leaving, she briefly opens up, gruffly disclosing that she doesn't believe her work is good enough. She confesses that, more than anything, she wants to create something that means something to someone. Peyton leaves her sketchbook with a thoughtful Lucas.
And if I can't be great at it, then I don't want to ruin it. It's too important to me.
We come full circle with Lucas back at the riverfront park, where Coach Whitey catches up to him to discuss missing practice. Whitey offers poignant advice, reflecting on his own regrets and unfulfilled coaching dreams, his could-have-been moments. He reasserts that Lucas's spot on the team is secure and tells him to ground his fears in reality, put a face on them, and tackle them directly.
Look, son, there's no shame in being afraid. Hell, we're all afraid.
Nathan casually teases the idea of quitting the team, but when he notices Peyton's interest, he quickly backtracks, claiming he was joking, dashing her hopes. Back at home, Karen tells Lucas she took the night off to watch him play. When she finds out he's not playing, she reminds him of the last time he quit basketball as a kid. In a moment of reflection, Lucas realizes that he quit junior basketball because he didn't want to see Dan's face or become like him. It dawns on him then that his deepest fear, the one Coach Whitey advised him to face head-on, is becoming like his father. Refueled by Peyton's art and his mother's words, Lucas races to submit Peyton's sketches to Thud magazine and make it to the basketball game. As he arrives, Dan intercepts him in the hallway.
Son. Give this to my boy, would you?
Jake, his teammate and now friend, notices the exchange, steps in and takes the bag from Lucas, telling him that his talent is his own and that he shouldn't let anyone, especially Dan, take it from him. Reassured, Lucas, now undeterred, joins the team on the court. But as he passes Peyton, he leaves her with one meaningful line.
Your art matters. It's what got me here.